everybody. So, just rolling with topics that came to mind tonight. And initially, it actually started with just the one idea. And then I had a few moments before I was able to borrow this device. And I came up with more. So, just a moment. So, so let's jump right into it. Now, normally I'm very organic, natural, free spirited. It's something to know about me on this channel. For the most part, I am. However, I did write a little bit in preparation, so I'll reference that a little bit as well. I'm not going to go in the order I wrote them in, I think, because it's not what I'm feeling like doing. Chapstick if you're curious, chapstick if you're not. And also, well, that's okay. Just a moment. The location of that art is right above my head, and the location of the phone ain't much better. Right now, I'm just gonna move it. I mean, you did see it, but at least it won't be distracting. But it's right in front of me, distracting me. Okay. So hopefully that'll be a bit better, and I'll be sitting in front of that light. Although a car drove past earlier, and I was in the other room, and I thought, oh, I wonder what that would look like if it came through the window. Like the lights, the headlights of it. So, this is a slightly distracting shirt I'm wearing. You know what? I'm just going to go quickly change it. I think that this is better enough, but I'm just going to go quickly change it because it's distracting me. Nobody's likely going to want to see the shows. Just a moment here. I could be wrong on that. Oh, which reminds me. Oh, I don't think I can pause this. But you know what? If he sees me and gets a sense of me, then hopefully. I think if everybody gets sense of me in person or in video, some get a good and accurate sense in writing, but I think for some it takes that. So although, geez, when we first connected, he wasn't really sure what was thinking in that way. Obviously, he figured it out and came to the right conclusion. But part of me wants to wait a few minutes, see who might tune in. But somebody just did. So welcome, and just jumping right into it. I guess a question I could ask is there a part of the title that you're most curious to? It looks like you left, so they might like. But it was all set to cater to your whim. For a different way, lack of a different way to put it. As far as my preference, although I do want to try and cover each of these, I think that'll resonate with more people. So as much as I want to start with it, I kind of also want to wait until we have more viewers. Hopefully, more projects tonight. But I'm also happy with this one. So I don't know if there's a particular part of the title that topics that jumps out at you most. What I'm thinking is, well, the first one that I have listed on here, I mean, the conversation will really help kind of move these topics along, and to a conversation. But I kind of feel like this, actually, the first one that I have listed, and I wonder if this looks a little bit better just on this shirt. It might. My neck is a bit chilly, so it kind of works. I don't think it worked well with the font of the shirt. I also think I'm going to try and sit in front of the lighting there. I guess there's a street light or something there. I'm doing this in a bit of a different room because I wanted to be upstairs for a bit, and it's nice to do that every now and then. Change the environment. I should do it during the day and making new connections. I worked on this performance show in this room, and I'm glad that it happened. I'm glad that it happened. I debuted it just online. I was really hoping to put it on in person, so it didn't quite happen to the extent that I wished it would have. Um, there was a couple other kind of things within that project, but so I'm just pruning a plant at the same time. I'm not pruning; it's maybe not the right word, but anyway. But and I worked on it primarily in this room, and I don't come to this room in the house very often. Anywho, I'm really thinking if I am going to start doing podcasts in here, though, I don't mind that being there, but I'd like to maybe move it a little bit because it's right above my head, and I just feel like it's distracting. You know. Of course, I got to deal with all this tape then. But you got somebody there. I'm just adjusting the room a little bit because I don't podcast in here very often, and I think it'll make it more enjoyable. But the person left, so whatever. My efforts will pay off to those who are meant to be here, which I honestly think is as anybody who tunes in, for the most part, you know, as long as we're having a nice, kind, curious, and enjoyable conversation with each other, you know. Just going to make sure that the chat is turned on. I'm pretty sure I did check already. Okay. So with the first part, the first mention, which I was curious to see how people read the title because you could read it more than one way. I mean, I guess that's the case anytime, but I noticed it when I wrote it. But I still put it the way I put it. Living. The first part, what I wanted to kind of talk about, I put it in the comment section, the chat section of my other live video earlier today. And it was a bit quiet. That particular video was a bit quiet. Sorry about that. And but you should be sorry about that. No. And especially if you tuned in but didn't say anything. But and I put it there, and I thought, what a great question. What a great question. Tomorrow, what I might do for the topic, aside from music, might be looking at and thinking about the workshop I was at today, and if there's anything that I want to anonymously and vaguely kind of bring up. Nothing stands out at the moment except for something I will bring up in this, I think. But I don't think the body scan is going to be it. But anywho, the I'm really feeling mixed as to what order to do things in, but maybe the way I wrote it is the way I should do it. I didn't put much thought into it. I did kind of, like I say, within the title though. So I realize that for some people this might not be an easy question, and so it might be kind of a sensitive question. I would like you to try to do your best, or another way of putting it might be to challenge yourself to try and answer it, though. I can say just for yourself, but I'd love to see your answer in the comments. Question is basically, what do you feel are your main reasons for living? We could also make that relatable by saying, what are you feeling are the reasons why you're struggling to want to? And then also, what's helping? What's helping? or what do you think would help, even if you're not implementing it yet for whatever reason. I'm just noticing something at the bottom of this. I guess it's a new thing that YouTube's doing, and possibly this device. It says add a Q&A sticker and something about a sandwich. What's the best sandwich or whatever? I don't know. I'm going to stick with these 3 topics, and we can talk about these. So not talking about sandwiches or stickers. There was somebody briefly there, but I think it was just after, and then just after it left too. So I keep looking at this plant, which we recently brought in, and there's a lot of discolored, unhealthy bits. Although it's otherwise pretty good. I actually had forgotten it was this big. I haven't looked at it in a while. The other person in the house waters it quite often, but anywho. So I think I addressed that question. I mean, living is a humongous topic that we could approach from so many different angles. So, but I'm not sure what other angle I'd approach it at. So we'll leave that one for now, but you can comment about it. As much as I was going to go with the order that I wrote them here, I think I'm going to reverse the next 2, because the one I'm going to do next is, again, it's another one of those, another one of those kind of deep, sensitive topics, but important, relatable, very relatable. There is a difference between, I don't know if I'd say there's a difference between depression and sadness. Some people might, but I would say that there's a difference between depression and grief. But that there are definitely similarities. There are definitely connectors a lot of the time. But I think I want to, I mean, this might not resonate with everybody, but actually I think it would if they stop to think about it. If they stop to, I think I know how I'm going to approach that. So let's approach this one, and then we'll go to that one. Just because I personally feel, and I was around someone today that reminded me that not everybody does, or not everybody as readily does. And then too, also, when something is pretty fresh and raw, that can possibly impact this kind of thing. But again, I also think it's more sticking out. It's more what do you call it? Noticed and accepted by those who readily accept and notice. But depression, another big topic, right? Mark. And it's something that I have experienced. At times, I guess I didn't even really name it as that, but it's quite likely that that's what it was. And at times still is, and even counselors and psychologists, they still have struggles. A lot of them see one themselves. This is why I say you don't necessarily always need qualifications to be supportive. And, you need empathy. You need, a bit of intelligence and desire. I'm also just suddenly the lines on the window are kind of distracting me now. How's this? We'll leave it on the TV. Anyway, I still see them there. Maybe this isn't a great room to do this in, although I'm not hearing his music. Yes, we've got a collection of those. Maybe I'll just hold it at this point. Because at least if I do that, I'm not seeing the window as much. That makes me wonder if I brought this a little bit closer to me and then put it back on there, if it would be the same. Yeah, that's better, I guess. I don't know what that was. Anywho, I'm facing the window, and I feel like sorry. There was that many squares. Don't you live here? It's like I asked somebody. Actually, it's ironic because just last night or the night before, I somebody had interesting windows behind them, and it looked like they opened, and I couldn't figure out, in what way they did. I think it's just the things did instead of sliding it. But I'd asked them, and the guy, unless they, because it wasn't their usual spot, but I think it was honestly just the living room. He's like, "Yeah, how do we open these?" I think it was. I don't think he was joking either. Um, I almost wonder if this might be better, but then that's going to be in the way. This room is kind of like a room that is being used to hold um, a bunch of random stuff, and I'm noticing it well as I'm trying to podcast in it. Anywho, aside from what you might want to say in the comments, depression. Oh, it didn't reverse it. Depression. Yeah, what I heard is maybe I should share how I heard it. Although, I always say we got to think of our own content first, and then, support the, you know, we don't have to like everything on YouTube or everyone's content, but I'm sure that there is some of everyone's content that we would like, and so it's just figuring out what that is. But we do have to think of, when we're content creators, we do have to, think of ourselves a little bit first, I would say. And I've always wanted to try the concept of what Theriad does. Maybe I'll just say it that much. And if you know the name, you know the name. If you don't, you don't. Actually, that's pretty good. I'm holding it. It's amazing that piece of art is like, but yeah, I think that's pretty good. Sort of. I probably won't be rolling that much longer, but if we do get chatting, I might. The other thing is it's a little close up. You know what? Maybe I should just do this downstairs because there's paintings on the wall in the other room, which may or not be distracting. I might do it there though. Let me do it. Let me do it there. And it's kind of double intention because I really haven't gotten into the topic yet. Although it's also one because this is where I kind of got the idea. And I do every now and then talk about it or think too. I hate to turn this light on because I'm got a bit of a trigger connected to that. I think you're sitting up. Realize I'm just in here podulating. Tripod of choice at the moment is going to be vitamins. Brought to you by our sponsor. Okay, so I'll just stand and do this for a little bit because I feel like I need a bit more movement today. A lot of us sit a lot, right? And yeah, so I feel like I need a bit more movement. You okay? Lay down. You all right? Just our dog there. So yes, I heard of somebody. She was an older lady in her 60s or 70s, and I think it was actually closer to 80. And she worked in medical of some sort. And she says that that she used some sort of electric treatment that I think I've heard of before. And it's actually kind of ironic because one of the people I heard it from connects to another part that I'm about to mention. And I thought, I don't think I would ever do that. And, she didn't either, that being said. But I don't know why one would, to be honest. Sorry, I'm moving around a lot. should just do this in the usual spot, to be honest. Believe in horoscopes. Add a Q&A sticker. So this is suggesting topics. I'm going to try not to let it be distracting because, I wouldn't say chat that way, but chat is interactive. Anywho, basically, I'm hesitant to not say that meds is, geez, meds seem to really be helping, so we're not going to stop them. We all know that meds have side effects. So do a lot of things, really. But I would say that low doses, okay. As I said in one of my other recent videos, I've always thought it was a little bit silly and a little bit being at the mercy or, trusting doctors maybe a little bit too much. I'm not going to say that we shouldn't, but doctors, psychiatrists, they like to push meds. And I just realized something. Sorry. It's hard. We have a lot of art in here. That's an abstract piece, but I just felt like it might be a bit distracting. But anyway, they like to push meds. I'm just saying that much. And essentially, meds are chemicals. A lot of things are, it's true. But I'm very much one who believes in holistic treatment. Whether that's through hobbies, what's the word? Homeopathy, naturopathy, those kind of things for the most part. I don't want to tell people to go off the meds. Certainly not cold turkey. For a lot of people, they feel that it helps them. Although I often think also that meds are a bit of a placebo that is, lots of intelligent people take them though. And again, in certain conditions, I would say, like mental health conditions, again, I'm not advising you to go off your meds, but maybe gradually, I don't know. And then have good substitutions, good plans in place. Because, a lot of times I think that people are taking them because in their mind, it equals better. It equals treatment. A lot of people will say, though, that it really just numbs the symptoms, and that's true. But so can distraction. So can hobbies. And, it's not good to avoid things for too long, that we're struggling with. But at the same time, you naturally sometimes will get a little bit numb and will want to avoid or distract yourself from them. And that's fine and that's normal. There was somebody very briefly there, but anyway, I guess they got distracted. They were avoiding this. But so those are the kind of treatments that I feel are best for that personally. And a lot of people, I'm sure, relate to it. But of course, there's lots on YouTube. But then also too, I just feel this deep in my heart. I sort of want to walk around, even though the dog's resettled there. I don't want to move around a lot, but I sort of want to walk around a little bit, or maybe just stand up and move around in here. I mean, if you haven't been able to tell, this is the bedroom, so there's not that there's not a lot of room, but there kind of isn't. There you go. Bobby came up lately. The only other thing that I could think of to say, and this would have been more of a video if there'd been more chat, but I've managed to get everything in about 25 minutes, that, the base of it. Is like stretching and movement, because that's important, and I've been feeling very stiff today. So we can talk about the other two things in the title. We still can, and the person left, but I did want to say that I was going to go into the next part after I take a sip of water. And the next part is basically when we see signs from our angels. As I kind of alluded to a little earlier, and I'm not going to say who or anything like that, but I heard that somebody, and she had, again, if I say this, she seems like the type of person that might well say, well, you just gave that detail, so they know it's me. When you think of how big the world is, you're not the only one. You can sometimes feel very alone in your struggle unless you find a support group, a workshop, or the right people, in your life to associate with. But truth be told, there's a lot, and I said something very. I made some very good points that aren't exactly what I'm saying now, but I believe, because I haven't done another one since I got home today, that are very, but I just wanted to kind of roll with the ideas as I was getting them, but that are very similar to the ones I said in the previous live stream today about existing and coexisting, and kind of fits into this, and you can see how when you watch it. I don't remember, but I don't think it was a super long one because I was heading out not long after that, and so it wasn't very far in, I don't think. Anyway, point of the matter being is that some people do not. How do I put it? They either deny that they're seeing signs and symbols from their loved ones in heaven, or I just got really chilly arms. I almost want to put on a sweater or something, sleeves of some sort. I don't know why I'm so chilly right now, but this would take this off the door. So, I'm on the kind of third topic, but I can certainly go back to the other topics if there's anything that you'd specifically like to talk about on them. And again, I said that because somebody tuned in. It doesn't look like they stayed. That might be indicating wrong, but either way, I'm going to keep on with what I'm saying. So yes, I would say though that don't think too much into what my body is doing and my body language. I have a lot of stiffness today for some reason this afternoon and this evening. Went away briefly, but and arthritis and all that fun stuff. So the bath helped for a little while. Some rubs I put on, but anyway, I'd really like to be leaning on something. Maybe I'll lean on this. Although I realize that there's a bunch of stuff, but you know what? Homes have stuff in them. That's the thing, and it's easy for things to pile up or get a bit messy sometimes, or just not to feel important. Like dealing with this. But basically, but that's actually kind of a good stretch. May not look like it, but the way I'm holding my arm right now, I'm really feeling it in my shoulder and upper back a bit on that side. I also never realized how short this shirt was until I keep showing my stomach a little bit unintentionally. I can't believe I leaned over there because you were the goody-goody. Not that it can't be a goody-goody. But so I think that a lot of us, all of us, have or will experience someone passing away in our life. And when they do, take it from someone who notices it fairly often, they will show you signs and symbols. They just will. Sometimes more obviously than other times. And some people may say, well, how can you be 100% certain? And I guess I would say, because I'm human, that I'm not 100% certain, but I'm 98 to 99% certain in my belief and NDEs and stuff that I've had that there is an afterlife. Um, and it was NDEs that was not. Yeah, there is an afterlife, and that they are with us. Loved ones are with us from the other side, watching over. They might not be all powerful. I'm agnostic, and I don't really feel like God is either. I believe that there is a creator, and I've talked about that occasionally on here. Sometimes I struggle to put it into words, sometimes I don't. We don't have to get hugely into that. But one of the reasons why I strongly do, though, is because I have felt the angels of my loved ones, whether they were believers or not. And in some cases, I didn't even know whether they were or not. It's just something that never really came up. It's not really something that was really um, focused on in our connection. And the connection may not have been super duper strong, or it may not have been um, recent or whatever. Like, for some reason, I do think of my former coworker. I mean, I was on the bus briefly with her to and from work. Um, we mostly talked to customers in the job, and only very briefly at like a smoke break or a lunch break or whatever did we get to talk, with each other. But I know that she's told me how much it's meant to her, and how special it was, and how much she appreciated it. And I think one time her soul even spoke to my telepathy, and said that she could sense that sometimes I really needed it, and sometimes so did she, or something like that. Um, I seem to remember she's one that said I didn't know whether I believed, but once I got to heaven, I noticed God. You know, like again, may not have had a you know super strong you know connection with him there, but acknowledged his existence. So I mean, they're closer. In my belief system, they'd be closer. They would know. There's a couple other reasons I believe, and then I also really struggle with my faith. But again, I don't want to. Religion is a topic that I can accept on this channel, just like any other topic, if we approach it with respect and love, and one is not too preachy. I posted about a song um, online, and one person was quite turned off just because I said, I think because God was in the title, but it otherwise wasn't a super religious song. It's the one I did the ASL to the other day, actually. And I think that we have to be able to look past a little bit of that, because it is the approach or way that a lot of people operate within. Um, but if it's too much, if it's kind of the only kind of thing mentioned in what they say, and it becomes really preachy, that's when it's certainly not welcome on this channel. Like, I'm not, you know, there's a difference between a conversation talking about topics and being lectured at or preached to. And I hope nobody ever feels like I'm doing the latter towards them. As far as I'm concerned, I'm like any other YouTuber that's talking about topics. But, you know, I have my way that I do it, and I hope that it you know I hope that it uh, resonates and speaks to people, and they might want to chat further about it, kind of thing. But yes, as far as signs and symbols, like I say, we all have or will lose loved ones in our life, and especially when they pass away. That you don't really see it from some. I mean, you might have memory triggers, about a fallout or something that an opportunity that you've lost in your life or whatever, but you won't have signs and symbols quite the same way. Uh, but I don't want to get too specific, because it is specific about the one I heard from somebody earlier today. But I will say what she said was that I don't even think she said the words freaked out. I think she said she broke down. She seems like someone who maybe isn't. well, I mean, it's not enjoyable emotions that she's feeling, you know, after her partner passed away. You know, it's not it's not pleasant. It's not anything anyone wants to feel. Uh, but it seems like, and it's still fairly recent, but it seems like maybe she also uh, doesn't accept that it's okay to feel that way. Maybe that's what it is. But basically, she says, yeah, that's better. Um, uh, she's like, it really affected her. Um, and it sounds like it actually kind of made her uncomfortable, the sign that she got, which was clear as day. Um, so she said that she called up her sister, and her sister said, "Oh, he's just saying hi. He's just saying hello. We got two of you here. Welcome." And that's how I would see it, that they're with them. And I think that that's very comforting and makes more sense than being uncomfortable about it, personally. So I think that we should allow ourselves to feel those or notice those things and then accept them. 2-0. But a couple that happened for me today, and they may, we might not notice all of them. I'm pretty good at noticing it. And I would say that it's not every day, but that they are fairly often. But a couple of the ones that I had today, and it wasn't, remember, two came in, but anyway, let me just say this. One particular name kind of came up 3 times. I was like, two, no, wait, kind of three. There's some irony in that, and I was actually going to, hoping that people would be watching when I said it, because I thought they'd say, "Oh, what is it? Maybe is it my name? Is it my first name?" It would have been really funny if it was, but they can say that after the fact when they watch this. So I'll mention the name in a moment, but I'll mention another name first. I was watching something the other day. It kept freezing or conking out. So I never did watch it, and I kind of told myself, well, maybe I not meant to. A trivia thing. And I said, maybe I'm not meant to. And I had a playlist open from the other day on a different device, actually, and I came across it tonight, and we watched it. Enjoyable. It was kind of short, but it was enjoyable. And basically, it's ironic because of the place I was at today that kind of makes me think of this person. And the person who was playing the trivia was actually a famous musician who has a very popular version of a song that I will never forget. My friend hosted music nights at clubs, and one time I sang this Wagon Wheel song, and I watched the video a couple times since she's passed away earlier this year. And I said that in group. They says, I've been through a lot, but not recently in this kind of sense. But then I said, well, I guess 3 of them have been this year. But the thing is that I hadn't seen them recently. One of them was last year, end of last year, I believe. Or no, actually 2022, I believe. So anyway, but and everybody was dancing, and it was amazing. I didn't, it's not a super lively song, and it's kind of old, and it was a mixture, but mostly it was people in their 20s, maybe 30s, and it was just, I remember saying in the video, "Nice to see everybody dancing" or something like that at one point. So and that's the kind of thing that also feels really good as a performer. When you get people moving and grooving to what you're doing, because it feels good. It's a release. It's physical activity, and it can be fun. But I'll tell you this much: the older we get, for some of us, it becomes harder. It does. But G sometimes says that he's in better shape than he was way back then. So there's hope for those of us that are young but don't feel that. I'm back. I'm just going to quickly do that while I'm thinking about it here. I can find some that can sit on there. Oh, I forgot to do that. But I thought I heard movement out there, and I didn't really need to check it, but then I saw the light on, and then I saw the condition I'd left things in. But yeah, so basically, that's another thing that I would say. Maybe if you feel like it's something that you struggle with, to challenge yourself on. Seeing those signs, again, there's something that I see pretty quickly and easily. So I would struggle to understand somebody who couldn't. But that's not a judgment. Okay, I just want you to understand that. That's not a judgment. I wish I could think of more examples. I remember, I think it was Father's Day weekend or near my dad's birthday, there was a business vehicle that I walked past. And I swear that it said something. I think it said something about Father's Day, which I actually thought, I think what the thing was is that it was close to Dad's birthday, but it wasn't close to Father, or something like that. I can't remember. It was a long time ago, well, somewhat long ago. But it certainly caught my attention. Like that one was like, you know, here's the thing. Here's the thing I also want to actually mention, come to think of it. Just because we might not see the signs and symbols, it might mean that we just need to practice noticing them more. We need to maybe try and slow down a little bit as we're going through our lives, which can sometimes be very hectic and busy. But also, I would like to say that know that even if you're not seeing signs and symbols, that doesn't mean they aren't with you. You know, all the belief systems and experiences and such that I have come into having, it sometimes surprises me to hear people saying, "Oh, I just want to know that." Like I heard the other person, the same name as this, say, "I just hope that they're at peace." And part of me, and it right away thought, although I didn't get the chance to express it, well, of course they are. But then the other part of me kind of thought, but now that I'm thinking about it again, I'm kind of thinking, do we really want our loved ones to be at peace? I mean, I guess it's how you define it, right? Because when our loved ones pass away, because I would say if they were a good person, they've made it to heaven. We're not talking about purgatory if anybody's tempted. And we should, I really love the line. It's often true. I mean, earth can be great. Living can be great and enjoyable, but that they're in a better place. It's a nice and comforting way to look at it, I feel like. And yeah, basically, if they had health problems or whatever, then they don't now. You know what I mean? But I don't like, because I have felt signs, symbols, and sometimes even messages from my loved ones, and occasionally some other people's, I struggle to say rest in peace, because this is not saying that they're not okay, but sometimes they sure aren't peaceful. You know what I mean? Sometimes they are quite active from the other side in one way or another. So that's what I feel, and that's what I've kind of noticed. But going back to that other statement, in that trivia thing, there was an answer with the name Death, and then there was, I put two others here, but at the moment I'm only, right, the other one from that podcast, and then a place that we talked about. I almost kind of told my mother about something that I hadn't yet told her about that goes back quite a while. I didn't really need to, though. I mean, I've thought about it a few times recently, but it's not something I still need to focus on. Um, but um, but this loved one of the loved ones I'm talking about, had a stepson named Ray, so or rather named Jess. So it's kind of ironic. And actually, it's even more ironic when I think of it because the trivia show was Millionaire. Well, you may know that the host of that show was Regis. How outrageous is that? you know. Um, Back to the topic of depression, though, I do want to say that I feel like it's interesting because I thought, of my school memories, one of the things I remember is the speeches that we used to have to do. And I actually did an interesting cue card exercise earlier today, but actually in a workshop. And again, if anybody sees this that happens to be in the workshop and is like, that's familiar, he's talking about it, I'm being vague, and it may be very unique to us because we were there and we experienced it. But most people that hear this won't be. So, and I'm not saying where or anything, but we did this really interesting exercise where we had this ball of yarn and it had really nice colors. It was yellow, blue, pink, and maybe green. There was another color. I can't remember. My other device is downstairs or whatever. I got a quick picture of the string because what we had to do was take this ball and name a feeling that we were having, and then toss it to somebody else while holding a piece of the string, and then do that randomly. It came back to me, and we were at the end of the string, and there were still two more people to go, and that was a little bit awkward. And basically, it was like a web of feelings that we were creating or whatever, and then it was fun watching them kind of. She said she should have just followed it or whatever instead of taking it all and trying to do it and getting all bunched up or whatever. But that was interesting. But about depression, I would say we must also remember that now it says most of course I mentioned that it is a genetic thing. It is a lot of the time, and so that can be very hard to treat. But I think that we have to accept it and maybe not try and be gentle to ourselves about that because really any way that we happen to experience it, well, it's often not our fault. Often. But we can do things to make it easier or to help when we're noticing that. Another big component of it, though, is an imbalance. And it comes from living a life where maybe you're struggling to have balance sometimes. And also imbalance, chemically, in our system can be part of it. But also, living a life and struggles that we go through in life can certainly have an effect. And so I would say that it's very important to look at those latter two things. And I mean, yes, I've been very focused, but I also have this. Like, where's the viewers? This is just a quiet one. Hopefully they come afterwards. But it's very important to, and somebody will notice on. A lot of long ones, I come to think of it, do tend to be interviews, but not so much with me. However, I saw somebody asking somebody in a very interesting podcast that I saw last night that was not an interview. And I don't really know what prompted them to say this unless they just watched their friends and it was a little bit kind of militant. But they said, I'll ask you every couple of weeks so as not to be annoying, but because she'd ask and she said, the guy had asked and said, I don't know about that, but had asked if she would be on his podcast. And it was kind of ironic because yes and no, but she kind of reminded me of the most recent podcast guest I had, which was a couple of weeks ago. But I'd like to have more of them. So, I mean, I'm kind of saying this when nobody's currently viewing. 50 something minutes into the video, but if you'd like to, we could try and coordinate when would work and what we'd talk about. And it'd be very cool to, with a fellow YouTuber, occasionally do an interview about their hobbies or their job. But yeah, I think that we need to look at those imbalances. We need to look at those struggles and see what we can do about them. And if the things that we're trying ain't working, we need to decide, are there things that we still feel are valid or worth continuing to keep trying for our wellness, or are there other things that we could try? So we can talk about any of this. There's also kind of an ironic thing about surveys. But yeah. On that note, I will wrap up and say thanks for watching. I wish everybody well and hope you're having a good day, week, and life. And I hope we'll be talking again real soon, okay? Take care. Bye for now.